Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Hi Jason, how are you today?
I'm pretty good, and how are you?
I'm good too, thanks. So we're talking about trust today.
Yeah, trust is one of those things that allows you to figure out what is right for you, right? And it's tricky. Trust is hard a lot of the time. Like, what do we do? How do we trust ourselves? Like, there's this cliche: you've got to trust your gut. You've got to trust what's right. You know, but people just don't do it very well. It's a challenge, I think, in a lot of ways.
So how do you see, like, trust usually kind of manifests in the world at the moment?
Look, I think what we do is we look externally to trust someone else. So we're looking trust in quite often all the wrong places, and we're looking for that we can trust someone. So this actually comes deep down from psychology, from childhood. Our deep child part of us, we have to trust who?
Our parents.
Our parents, because they're here to keep us alive. Now, our parents quite often don't necessarily do the best for us all the time. They can't. I can't for my kids. So that trust drops away. And then we have these stories and fables that they tell us. Santa is real. You know, all of these things that we get told. Easter Bunny. And then we realise later on that we were told stories. So how do we gain a sense of trust and wonder in our own senses, especially from childhood when we get let down? Now, our parents, and I've experienced this, I've told my kids about Santa and the Easter Bunny and all of those sorts of things, and then they realise that it's not true. Like Liam knows it's not true now. Charlotte's still into Santa and the Easter Bunny and that sort of thing. So how do we gain that trust when we're getting told stories? A lot. It's hard, I think. A lot of the time is there's this feeling inside that we don't have the ability to reach, and the reason why is because trust comes from this ability to make decisions that are going to be right for us at the end of the day. And a lot of the time we make decisions that are not necessarily the greatest. Like, you know, how do we trust ourselves to just eat the right food? When there's all of the food that's really consequential for our bodies and we just go, yeah, I want that.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah. So we all do that. We have a lack of faith or a lack of trust in our ways of approaching just our intake. Our body thrives off really healthy food, and we thrive emotionally off really crappy food until we start realising our body starts to break down and it can't handle the food that we're eating. So trust comes down to a few things. We've got to learn to trust our inner self. We quite often in life is, you know, you'll have experienced this, and everyone who's watching has experienced this. Someone tells you something and you can feel they're out and out lying.
Yep.
Or they're out and out believing they're telling the truth, but they don't know it's a belief system that they're actually talking about. So our instincts are dropping. You know, when you get this sort of drop in your belly and you're like, oh, what's happened, right? Or someone tells you a truth and you get this tingle spine up your back and you go, oh my God, my whole face, everything's tingling. Everyone gets that, right? So someone tells you something and your body drops. But how do we know if that body's dropping simply because we're scared of what we're hearing too? Let's say I said to you, Philly, you are here to expose yourself around your confidence and what you're here to share in the world, and you're here to lead responsibility, uplifting, and getting people to liberate their lives through fulfillment. And you're here to start today. What does that feel like?
It feels more on the scary side.
Yeah, right. But what if it was true?
Well, it's still on the scary
Yeah. So
side.
how do we trust if someone's going to tell us something that is amazing that we could be? We can't fit in those shoes yet.
Yeah.
And we can't trust ourselves. We have this dream that we want to fulfill, and we just don't know what to do around how to make it happen and how to make it real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's is there a way to tell the difference? Like whether you're scared or whether someone's lying to you, or, like is it just a practice type of thing?
Yeah,
an
look,
experience?
I believe it's an experience-based thing, and I'll tell you why. When we get this innate thing, this is what we're here to do, and it all goes pear-shaped. So I had this experience. I was like, I just want to go and live in Canada. Everything felt so right. So my wife and I, or my ex-wife and I now, we got married in November, and we chased our dream to live in Canada. Now I ended up in the psych ward, right? And so what happened? I had a problem. Everything went pear-shaped. When I look back, exactly what happened needed to happen. Exactly what happened needed to happen. But I'm more developed now in my nature. So I know that even when we trust ourselves and we take a step and it goes really, really badly, we were meant to go there. We were always meant to go and have that experience. So how do we learn trust when we're actually going to fall down a hole?
I guess you gotta then learn to trust yourself to get out of that hole again as
That's
well.
right. So again, we have to learn to be able to pull ourselves out of the hole that we've dug. So trust is not necessarily about having the perfect life and having everything go perfectly well. It's about trusting ourselves so deeply, no matter what happens, we'll be able to get through it.
I think there's a really nice quote. I'm not 100% sure how it goes, but it's something like the bird isn't afraid that it'll fall because it trusts in its wings.
That's right.
So, yeah.
And at the end of the day, they do fall. They're usually, their first flight is actually, they land on the ground. A lot of them do. And they don't get to take flight as well as they could when they've had the experience. And then there are times where we take flight and we fall. They hit the window. It's like, I've had that experience where birds hit the window and it's like, oh God, it's, dazed, and, pick it up and look after it and then let it fly off. So what we've got to learn to do around trust is actually not think that it's going to be all bells and whistles and rosy and easy. So what I've learned, there's an internal voice that we have that is very, very strong. There's a really strong, powerful external voice as well. And there's the voices that we listen on the outside. And then there's our silly voices that tell us we're not good enough and all of these things that come along in our head. So we get so many things and experiences that we're here to experience, our phones, everything that comes along. So how do we learn to trust the world? And how do we learn to trust what's going on in the world at the moment? Especially is, look, I'll give you a really important tip. Question everything that you hear. I question everything that I do, simply so I can gain more trust in it. Right? So more questioning is the essential ingredient to learning to trust.
That's really good.
Questioning teachers, questioning the mainstream media, questioning the alternate media, questioning everything that you hear. If you're watching things that are alternate, don't take it like a grain of salt, because what we do is we quite often go, our belief systems that we want to buy into, get the information that we want to actually buy into, and we go, okay, this is it. I don't believe in this because I heard this from this person.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, if you want, if you want to believe in something, you'll find proof for it, and if you don't want to believe in it, you'll find proof against it. Yeah.
That's exactly what we do, and then we strongly verbalize what we believe so strongly in. So I'm going to give you a really important tip, and this, you may not like this. What you're so hardcore with in your beliefs, don't trust it.
Mm-hmm.
Look on the other side and find out what the polarity opposite is, and engage with that, and find out what's in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're so strongly against something or so strongly for something, there'll be pain involved. So it's really, really important to learn to pull back on what you fully, strongly believe in and find out where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. And once you do that, you can actually find out where the belief systems and the opinions that are highly opinionated inside of your psyche actually are from. And then you'll learn how to trust that. And the most important thing is that when you're challenged by someone, right, and someone says, I don't believe you, and you get really pissed off, annoyed, or frustrated with that person, you don't have trust. Mm-hmm. Right? You don't have full trust because someone's challenging your core. If someone tells you something and you say, I don't believe in this, as an example, I don't believe in angels, but I do, and I don't, right? But people who fully believe in angels, they get pissed off with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I don't is because I've had experiences that are very different, and I understand psychology a little bit more, and I understand that angels are true and they're not. But I can have a conversation with someone and say, well, here's the reason why they're not, and here's the reason why they are.
Mm-hmm. Look at it from both sides.
I look at it from both sides and all angles, and I understand this. So as an example, I just posted on my my personal page around what we're fundamentally, in my opinion, doing pretty badly with helping people at the moment with stuff. I just said our simple process is to honour, accept and acknowledge where someone is at.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a few people really, really struggling with that concept because they like to fix and save, right? Mm-hmm. And they said, my stuff works really, really well, and they were, really strongly focused on that I was devaluing what they were believing in. And I understood because I've done that, their approach thousands and thousands of times. So I know it works.
Mm-hmm.
And I validated that 100% it does work. And you're doing a great job. I just gave a difference of opinion and they were affected. So they wrote really long responses back. And I knew that really long response was to defend their territory.
Mm-hmm.
So they were cognitively dissonant to actually someone else's opinion because it was going to break their whole system of helping people. But I know their system. I've done their system probably about 5,000 times. So I know the system that they're in. I created a new system because it wasn't working for me personally, and it wasn't working for my clients to hold it down and work with their problems in a way that allowed them to liberate their pain fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I know their process, that they didn't trust me in that moment because I was giving them a difference of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We kind of want to defend it, but I think I've kind of started to learn, like, what's the point really? Oh. You can share your opinion, but everyone has their own opinion anyway. And I think that you can just let people be, allow them to be, and you don't need to convince them of your opinion.
No.
It can be your opinion, but why do other people need to believe it too?
That's right, and I think that's really, really important in this day and age because, look, I look at expansion-based opinions. I look and I go, okay, this is where you're coming from. Now, I've been doing healing work for a really, really long time. I've done angels, I've done deceased loved ones, I've done mediumship, I've done pretty much everything that you could imagine. So when someone talks about something that they believe in, I'm pretty much on it because I've done a lot of it myself. Because I've done over 30,000 sessions with people. So I know what it is, what people are talking about a lot of the time. So I know their angle. Mm-hmm. When I give a different angle, the first thing that we do is we don't trust the angle that's been given. would be pretty normal, right?
Oh yeah, because you
'Cause
know
it's
it's something
new.
different.
Something new and something different. So when people have learnt the stuff in the academy, everyone says this one thing, that makes sense. Because I make sense of why the other way doesn't work so well. That when someone's bought into a certain way, they get really stuck with it. Like I remember my first ever course that I did was craniosacral therapy, and the lady who was teaching said craniosacral therapy is the only therapy that you need. And my whole body went, I don't trust that. But she was so invested in the system, so it was her belief. Straight away, I just went, nah, this is not for me. I did that one technique for a very long period of time, and I worked with it, and I still use it today. The thing is, that person was so bound and stuck on her therapy, and it was the only way for her. So if I came in and challenged anything with her core belief, what do you think she'd give me?
Oh, should she be like...
One finger salute.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I know my stuff. So one of the tricky things, guys, around experienced people is they end up becoming narrow if they're not actually expanded in listening to other people's opinions and where they're coming from. So with particular people that I work with in the academy, I open doorways and pathways to give them opportunities to experience different ways of looking at life and show them. And quite often, you've experienced this, I sort of know where people are at, don't I?
Yeah.
Right?
That's funny.
And then I offer advice that I wouldn't give myself, I wouldn't do for myself. And the reason why is because I'm not trying to get people to believe, do what I think they need. I'm focusing on doing what they know that they need for their life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So for me, I'm not attached to relationships, I'm not attached to lots of things. So I don't try and get people to go and do me, because I know a lot of people can't. Some people really need to create relationships that are attachment based. They're dysfunctional in my opinion, right? The thing is, I help people enmesh themselves in relationships if that's what they need to experience and learn. Because I know that that's what they need to experience and learn. So a person who's able to understand and trust themselves enough to actually give guidance at the place that the person is at, rather than giving guidance on what you think that they need. That's challenging for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it would be.
It is. So I have this innate trust in myself to calculate things, and there are times where I look at people's absolute magic and I go, you could do all of this, and they get really scared, and I'm like, oh, okay, they can only do a tenth of what I'm digesting for them right now. So I give them a good picture about what they could do, and then we maybe do a tenth of it, and then maybe they do 2/10 of it. But if I give them too much too early, they're going to end up not being able to chew it all. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So really, trust is really difficult for us to do. A lot of the time, there's a lady who I'm thinking about now, her name's Meg, who we had a big journey of lack of trust. I couldn't even say words to her without her getting upset with me. Now she unequivocally trusts me 100%. And the reason why is because over time I earned it.
And I think that's the thing, right? You need to earn it.
100%. You never give your trust away. I know I did this in 2000. I ended up in the psych ward by giving my full trust away to therapists who I found out were extremely unbalanced afterwards. So I made that big mistake straight away. So what I think you need to do for your own journey is earn trust for yourself, and earn that trust with other people, and look at the consistencies that they do. So with Meg, I was very consistent, I was very clear, I opened doorways and showed her where she was stuck over and over again, and in her gut there was something that she knew that I was actually giving her a truth, even though it was really hard for her to hear information. She's like, okay, I get it, Jay. And over time, she saw the clarity, the consistency, and the care that I was giving her. That she knew that I had her the intentions for her were in the right place.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's almost a little bit like with trust, it's almost like buying a property or something. You kind of have to give a little bit of it beforehand, like a deposit almost, because if you completely distrust someone, like why would they come see you in the first place, right? And then you kind of just like pay it off bit by bit until you fully own it.
Such a really good thing. And look, when you understand it, that comes like that, you've got to slowly put that money into the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Trust account, let's say.
Yeah.
And then over time that trust comes along. So as an example, when you started working for me, you didn't really trust yourself, did you? And then I gave you this statement. What was the statement that I gave you to do? It was basically, whatever you think you need to do, just go and do it.
Yeah. Don't effing ask me.
Just go and try it. And you were like, what? Like, yep, that's your job. Don't effing ask me. I want you to try it. And the reason why I gave you that was I handed my trust to you, knowing that you would do really well and you would make mistakes and you would learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted you to make mistakes, and I wanted you to actually try things, because then you'd find your way. And if I helicoptered you, you wouldn't feel trust. You'd be thinking, oh, I've got to go and see Jason for this. I've got to go and see Jason for this. And I just didn't want you to do that. I wanted to entrust in you and your magic, and then make mistakes along the way, knowing that we would be able to make them different and make it better.
Mm-hmm.
That's true trust. Knowing that mistakes are going to happen, they're essential. Perfectionism is where we lack trust.
Oh, yeah.
Which was where you were.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So when
it's much better now.
Yeah, it's much easier. So trust is one of those things. So if we want to, let's say, learn to trust ourselves more, we've got to be prepared to go into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And know that at the end of the day, things are going to fail, things are not going to work, and things are going to work. And then we can start learning to trust the things that are going to work and repeat them over time.
Mm-hmm.
So true wisdom comes through repetition. So if you trust yourself and you do something once, do you think you're going to be able to master it?
No.
Never. So we've got to learn to trust ourselves through repetition, through reps. That's why, when I've worked with so many people for so long, that repetitious behaviour allowed me to trust what I was doing. And then I realised the work that I was doing, I needed to change. So I changed so many ways in which I've worked. And I'm actually just changed. This morning, I got up and I'm like, I want to change the way in which Year 2 emotions are done. So I'm going to put a new framework in. I like it, but I want to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to put something different into the emotions for Year 2 and make it different.
Cool.
So that's coming very, very soon. I trust myself enough to know that I'm willing to change something as well that I've put in place.
Yeah, it's not like, we've always done it this way, that's why we need to keep doing it this way.
Oh gee, that was what I did when I first went into my first ever job. I looked at the systems that we're in and I'd say, why are we doing this? Because that's the way we've always done it, Jason. I'm like, ooh, gee, okay, so I'm not allowed to rock the boat here. So I just did things that were not really great, and I was too young. I didn't have enough wrinkles to actually advise what I thought could be a different solution. So what I did is I led from behind and I asked questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the experts said, that's a great idea, we will do that. And I started helping them implement changes when I knew, I trusted myself enough to know that if I opened my big fat mouth, it was going to get shut.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the experts who didn't really know what they were doing, and I asked them the right questions, to get them to think about changing the processes that they were doing at the time, because they just didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. That's really amazing as well, a good example.
Yeah, it's a really good way of looking. So guys, if you're lacking in trust in yourself, or you don't want to take yourself over the line, you're scared about where you want to go, you got to give life a shot. The worst thing you can do is sit there living a life of regret. So trust comes with knowing that you're gonna fall over, you're gonna fall off your bike, you're gonna trip over your feet. And at the end of the day, you'll manage to get up. You might get a few broken legs and arms along the way and a broken nose. At the end of the day, you'll be okay if you start with something and start moving along and start repeating processes over and over again.
Amazing. Thank you for that conversation. It was really insightful.
No worries. So if you like this podcast and you want to learn some more about trust, come and hang out and find out what we do as well. We've got this amazing process around getting you to learn to trust yourself, and you trust yourself so much more now, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's really cool to actually learn around this, because we need to actually get better at it. So if you want to watch this podcast, it's www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. I'd love you to like and share this if someone needs to learn to figure out, well, how to trust themselves, how to break the bank on your experience as well, how much experience you have. Break the opportunity to actually learn more rather than actually get stuck in your own world. I love learning different concepts and different ways of approaching. I'm often just looking and thirsting for something new to do, and I hope that you are too, and trust will give you the journey towards that. Make mistakes and make life happen the way you want.
Thank you.
All right, thanks guys.